Hey there, my fellow YouTubians. How are you? So this Monday night, it was the end of an era. Television series which I've been watching for many years. 24 finally came to an end. I'd watched pretty much every episode of this series as it aired, and was pretty, fairly entertained by it overall. It just sort of, I guess I was viewing it out of habit more the last couple of years because it is a very formulaic show. And the same kinds of things happen every single year, it seems like. But it does have its moments. The season finale was not my favorite of the season finales that have been on the show, although at the end of the first hour was one of those classic 24 moments where you just go, ooh, where Kiefer Sutherland has a rifle trained on President Logan's face, and he's ordering him to call up the Russian president and tell him to come to the room so Jack can get a beat on him. And Logan says to him, well, what do you want me to tell the Russian president about why I want to see him? And Kiefer Sutherland says, tell him the truth for once. Tell him you have credible intelligence on a threat to his life. Just like, yeah, that's great. And the last exchange also between himself and Chloe was very appropriate too, taking place over a cell phone connection and spy camera imaging. And of course, there might be a film of it at some point in the future, but for now, the television series as it is was pretty unique in its attempt to keep real time, although there are some cheats here and there. I'm sure you've heard of a website called the Jack Tracker, which traces his path over the course of the city, over the course of the day, and figures out exactly how fast he has to go to each location in order to actually get there at the time they say it is. Anyway, I wanted to share a couple thoughts about some of my favorite moments in the series. Season 1 obviously is the real groundbreaker here, and although it isn't my favorite season, it's still one that's pretty great. One of the better season finales, I'd say. I also really like the season finale for season 4, in which he's the President Logan wants him killed, so he orders the Secret Service to do it, and Jack manages, with the help of his CTO buddies, to fake his own death, and then sort of goes into hiding, which is where he's at the beginning of season 5. He's under an assumed name. And that's a really great ending of the episode, where he grabs his backpack and just walks off into the sunset, hopefully to go underground. But I have to say that my favorite climax of a season might end up being season 3. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's season 3. It's one of the few times in which Jack isn't either A, on the run, or just deeply miserable about his lot in life. Either his wife's been killed or something like that. For the most part, he's actually okay. But it's a really, really intense last episode, because that's the one that involved the vials of a pathogen, some airborne virus that he has to stop from being released. And it's like a race to the last second for him to get that little device somewhere. When it goes off, it will disperse it harmlessly somewhere where no one can breathe it in. So it's a really, really intense episode. Even upon the second time I watched those episodes, it was still very exciting. And that's a good sign. I have to say, overall, season 3 is probably my favorite of the 8 seasons that we're on. A lot of people say season 5 is probably the best, and that's really a lot of fun with Logan and everything like that. But I think season 3 is the most consistently well written and well developed. It also had one of my favorite villains, a British agent who is masterminding the whole pathogen dispersal scheme. His daughter gets involved and he gets used up. And what's really cool about that is within the space of 2 episodes, he goes from being this super cool threat to being this guy who's just utterly lost and defeated and is walking around very glumly in the wrist and leg irons. It's nice. I like that a lot. Season 5, of course, was a lot of fun. Probably my favorite single episode out of the entire series takes place in season 5. That would be 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And that's the introduction to the Peter Weller character. Peter Weller was a guest star that season. He played a guy named Christopher Henderson, who was Kiefer Sutherland's mentor, or recruited him into CTU, something like that. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Peter Weller from RoboCop and Buckaroo Banzai, and it was great seeing him, but the character he played was awesome. He's a super cool badass and just a smooth mofo, he's just playing Jack like nobody's business. It was great. It was really great. And he tricks Jack into going to this bunker where he seals him in and tries to blow him up with a bomb. In the meantime, the president has orchestrated an assassination attempt on a visiting dignitary, and his wife gets wind of it, so she hops in the limousine as well. So President Logan's got to call off the assassination, or his wife's going to be killed, that kind of thing. Very, very tense episode. Just great overall. Lots of good action, and of course Peter Weller he's the best, man. He's just laying it on real smooth. It's great. I have to say my favorite season premiere. Season 2 had a really good season premiere. It was where Jack, it's after his wife, immediately after his wife's been killed. It takes place about a year and a half after that, and he gets called by the president to work on the case. And the first thing he does is he gets some guy who's a witness, and he shoots him in cold blood. Just boom, guns him down right there, and then cuts his head off so he can use it as a way to get back in with a gang undercover, basically, like he's a bad guy. That was pretty shocking episode. I love that. But probably the best season premiere is probably from season 5, and that's the one where David Palmer is assassinated within like the first 5 minutes of the show, and within the space of 1 hour, Jack finds out that the president's been killed, commandeers a helicopter, tracks down the assassin, finds out that he was the guy that did it, and then shoots him in cold blood right at the end of the hour. Oh, and then of course Tony Almeida and his wife get blown up in their car, and Chloe gets attacked, and all kinds of other stuff. All within the space of an hour. It's a really exciting first episode of that season. And I really liked also the episode that season in which CTU. There were a couple episodes involving CTU being invaded by some kind of metal-eating virus. There was some kind of a virus that was sweeping through CTU and was eating through metal barriers, and everyone was trying to stay alive and not not breathe in the stuff. And Sean Astin, who was the guest star that year, he ended up saving the day by covering his mouth and holding his breath and running to some remote terminal and kicking up the air circulation system, and he unfortunately died. A lot of really cool characters died that season, but that was a really exciting episode. And of course, I'm also a big fan of Chloe. Love Chloe. She's a lot of fun. Marilyn Rice-Cub, was a comedian who played Chloe O'Brien from season 3 all the way through season 8. And my favorite Chloe moment probably comes from season 4, in which she has to, for some very contrived reasons, go out of the office to do some work, and then she gets shot at by a bunch of guys, and the guys shoot all the agents that are supposed to be protecting her. So what she do? She picks up an M16 and guns them all down, and then she goes back to the office, talks with Edward Stiles, one of the other analysts there, and she's like, I thought I'd feel bad about killing those guys, but I really don't feel anything. I hope I'm not some kind of psycho. And he says, you'll probably just freak out about it later. And she's like, yeah, I hope so. So, I'm kind of sad to see it go, but at the same time, I'm also kind of glad because, I felt sort of obligated to keep it up year after year, keep up watching it. Now I don't have to anymore. I can just wait around for the movie. And all in all, a fun show, and I enjoyed it. So, you want to echo your thoughts? Tell me what you thought of the show, and are you glad it's over? What'd you think of the last episode? Who are your favorite stars, moments, stuff like that? Like to hear them. Thanks. Talk to you later. Oh, just 3 more subscribers to go, and I'm announcing the winner of the contest. Click the link. Play the game.